Jay, are you sick of the world?
I'm so sick of the world.
Right? Isn't it different? Remember when we were young and we would pretend to be Powerpuff Girls and run around and life was easy?
Yes, I remember this.
And
I was
everything's
always
different.
Buttercup.
Oh, dude, I love Buttercup. The best. So I thought we should have a guest on who sees the world and wants to change it for the better and help everyone learn how the world can be better.
I like that.
All right. If you can't tell, Knights, we have a special guest on, Matt Willett. Matt, say hi.
Hi.
There we go. Yes, that's it. That's all I got to do.
So quick note, Johnny wanted to make a Powerpuff joke, and I thought he was saying Powder Puff, like that was like a football thing growing up, And so I thought he was saying like we were playing that, and I was so confused. I was like, I get that it's kind of a joke, but like I don't really understand. Like it's just going over my head, Johnny.
Jay, do not embarrass me in front of my friend Matt.
Yeah.
But yeah, we wanted. Matt has a cool story. Matt sees the world in an awesome way, and Matt can explain things to dumbify for me. And that's what I appreciate.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself. What you did, how you grew up, all the above. What you're doing right now. What's your hobbies?
What I do. Early retirement, maybe.
The dream.
No, my wife and I opened up the first Menchie's frozen yogurts here in the valley about 13 years ago, and we just ran them to the point where I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, we hired a manager, and yeah, so I just sit at home, hang out with the girls, read philosophy, write stuff. Yeah. That's pretty much it. But I mean, I grew up in Cache Valley. Yeah, went to school up there, and then, I mean, I've lived like in Hong Kong, the Deep South, like just various different places, and then just always ended up back here in Utah. Yeah.
As we all do.
In your many years, have you ever seen a movie called Little Nicky? It's Adam Sandler.
I have.
You said the Deep South.
Yeah.
So are you saying that you lived in hell for a time?
It really is. Like, people don't understand. It's like you watch the movies and stuff and you're like, it can't be that way. And it's like, no, it really is that way. So the funny thing is so I left and I did my mission in Hong Kong, which is why I went there. And then while I was out, my parents moved down to Corinth, Mississippi. So I went home, and I went home to Mississippi. So I didn't actually come back to Utah. And I think I got more culture shock arriving in the Deep South than I ever did going from Cache Valley to Hong Kong. Like, yeah, it's an eye-opening experience and a lot of fun. Like, yeah.
Well, I think we may have
Now I get away with like looking at somebody when they're dumb and going, "Oh, bless your heart." Yeah. So, but I mean, other than that, yeah, I just once I had a lot of time, then I've always liked philosophy, like just the study of what makes us tick, and I started diving into it mainly because like I did the whole Tony Robbins path, personal development and everything. And it just wasn't enough. Like, it only shows like one side. And I always kind of left going, man, there's got to be more. And so I just started reading like everything I could get a hold of. And now it's led to some really, really cool theories on just evolution and how we came to be and how everything kind of clicks together. And so that's what I'm starting to write about. Yeah. Just want to kickstart an interest in philosophy again. Like, we're designed to think, we're designed to be creative. And like, that's really, we turn it off all the time. I just wanted to give people a chance to be like, hey, you've got everything it takes there. You really can actually do philosophy and think. So, um, yeah. Anything
That's
else you want to
exciting.
know?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's so much more. I mean, I tell Jay your miraculous story of having a stroke out in Europe, and then a day later you're running again. It wasn't a day later, but
Took about 3 months. Yeah.
yeah, tell that story. So where were you again out in Europe?
um, we were on our way back from Styria, which is southern Austria, to Zurich, and we had a stop off in Innsbruck for the night, and parked our car, and we were heading back to the hotel, and like all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, my ear went all foggy. Like I heard a broken modem sound, and then like couldn't walk. Like so, stumbled back to the hotel. Like fortunately, it was like in the middle of a beer garden, so my state didn't actually attract any attention from
It's a
anybody
drunken
because
sailor.
everybody else was walking around the same way. So the next morning had to call the ambulance and ended up spending a week in a hospital in Innsbruck before I could fly back home. Yeah.
Was that stressful being treated overseas?
No. In fact, I ended up with a really good friend, like the guy that was in my room. Like the hardest part was like the doctors speak English. The nurses didn't. But I was fortunate because the guy that was in the bed next to me spoke English well enough that he could actually translate for the most part. And like, yeah, I WhatsApp him all the time. Just got a new friend in Bavaria. It's yeah.
That's
So we were
awesome.
probably the only two there that had. I'm like, it's kind of funny because we managed to have strokes, but neither of our strokes affected us cognitively, and so were able to bond and have a friendship, and yeah.
That's really
So,
cool.
but they wanted to keep me there. I actually had to break out of the hospital, like had to tell them no, I'm leaving. Yeah.
He almost had to call me, and I pulled a Liam Neeson, a reverse taken, right? Take him away from there.
That's called extraction, Johnny.
Oh, okay. I like reverse taken better, but well, I guess we can extract him.
And since then, it's just been all right. Yeah, if I can't walk, I guess I'll figure out how to walk. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we were able to get him back on the squat rack about 2 months earlier than I thought I was going to get him to. So with the
yeah,
barbell, just going for it.
yep. So now I'm pretty much back to well, never been normal, but you know,
Uh, standard operating.
yeah, I can get around. And now I'm just like, well, if I'm going to have to relearn to walk, should learn to actually strut instead of what I was doing before. I'm like, just improve on what was going on. Yeah. I'm like, if you're ever going to get a mulligan like I did, it's like, you better turn around and golf the best game you can. Like, that's the purpose of a mulligan. Don't sit around and just say, I'm going to waste whatever it was that you were given, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, other than that, I mean, I've had to learn how to retype because my left arm doesn't work as well as it used to. And like a shaky left hand and autocorrect, like for the first little while, there was a bunch of like mumbo jumbo coming up on the screen whenever I tried to type. But then I discovered that if I learned to play Bohemian Rhapsody on the piano, that I could actually learn control of my left hand. So it's pretty cool. I relearned it by now I can play Bohemian Rhapsody.
And you can type again. So
And I can type again. Yeah.
yeah.
That was
I love that.
I mean, it's being well traveled. It never really freaked me out to be in a hospital over there, but I found it interesting just because you hear what universal healthcare is like, according, like, ours is set up in a way and most people know how it works, but I'm like, God, it actually does function better over in Europe. Like, for the patient itself, it's easier to get medical care overseas. They may not be as advanced, but yeah, the food was really good. Except for the fact that, so I have nieces and nephews that live in the area, which is why we were over there. And so they handed me the menu the first day I was there. And I'm sitting there looking at it. I'm like, this is all in German, man. So I had to order for an entire week. And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So my 8-year-old nephew came over to visit. So I handed him the menu and I'm like, here, dude, fill this out for me. Like, I want to eat for the next week. And about halfway through, like, the nurses, like, they have like a cafeteria lady that comes in and gives food and everything. And she was always laughing at me. And so Jorg is the guy that I met. And I'm like, what does she find so funny? She's like, she says you're always eating as if you're an 8-year-old German boy. And I'm like, yeah, because you filled out my menu. So I guess it makes sense.
Well, I think we'll have to take your word on that. I don't know that I'm going to go try and experience the
I don't know. I think I want to go to a German restaurant and order like an 8-year-old.
I'm fine with that, but a German hospital and order like an 8-year-old?
Yeah, but I mean, it was every morning you would get like the European breakfast, and it was like canoodle, and like it was authentic German food, just in a hospital setting, I guess. The only part that sucked really bad was it was a middle of a heat wave, so it was running about 100 degrees, and we were on the 7th floor of this hospital, and they don't have central air. And so we would sit there and just swelter all day long. It was so hot. They wouldn't bring us in fans or anything.
Oh,
no wonder
really?
you came back. No wonder you broke out.
Yeah. I need AC.
I want AC. But I mean, it didn't work because I ended up at my brother's place there in Zurich, and he doesn't have AC either. So, yeah.
Take that, Europe. We're winning. We have central air.
And, I'm just like, well, I guess, yeah, I'll plan the trip. We'll end up going back this summer. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. I was wondering when you guys are going to go back. Yeah, that's awesome.
So, I mean,
kudos to you.
Yeah, I'd be scared to leave my house. Says a lot about me.
Like
Johnny already is scared to leave his house.
I don't leave my house.
When I was telling you, I'm like, man, if you hedge your bets for failure, you're always going to hedge your bets for success as well. Like, you can't think, if you want to do something, you can't think, well, I can't do it because. So I'm like, well, I can either stay here and maybe run the risk of another one, or I might as well just go back over. And I mean, I already know what it's like to end up in a hospital over there. So really.
And you know how to order like an 8-year-old, so you'll be perfect.
Yeah, I won't have him fill out the menu again.
Yeah, get the 14-year-old. Let's go up a little bit more.
Yeah, but the nurses just laughed. They thought it was so funny. But I mean, they didn't get very many Americans very often that are hanging out in their hospitals either. So
could have been a lot worse. Imagine just circling random stuff and suddenly you're eating zebra or.
Yeah, I would be more afraid of that if I was like over in an Asian country having to fill out a menu. you really wouldn't know what you were getting. But you know, Germans, they like a lot of pig. You're pretty safe. Yeah. But
Love it.
so
All right,
that was
Matt, what are
this book.
you reading right now? What is something you want to share? I got you on to drop some awesome knowledge because that's all I get during our gym sessions.
I am really into a modern day philosopher. His name's Ken Wilber, and he he calls it the integral method, and it follows evolution all the way up and through. So it's really cool because it starts and it's all about how everything is interconnected and how as you evolve, you actually end up with more depth and less span. So the easy way to say it is okay, all across the universe, you have like atoms, right? They're the building block. So you take atoms and they all form into like their little cells and stuff. So you have a bunch of cells, but you're never going to have as many cells as you have atoms because you need multiple atoms. Yet the cells themselves so basically transcended the atom and then they include the atom within them. So as you go up the evolutionary chain, each level transcends and then includes the level below it. So you actually can't be where you're at without including everything. And it goes up through like the um like biological up into the noosphere, which is the brain, how we're developing there. And then it actually you follow it up and it's interesting to see how much it goes back into the spiritual the higher up you get in the evolutionary chain. So a really good one to read from him is I think it's A Brief History of Everything. He explains it really, really well. So I'm reading that, and then what else? Like I said, I'm reading that Uncertainty in Economics and Other Reflections.
Jay knows all about economics, so
Well, I discovered that you read early economics, so the really smart ones that came out in like the 30s, like I said, coming out of the Great Depression, and you notice that it gives you a better insight into society than any other study out there. Like the study of economics actually is human nature. It's pretty crazy when you make the connection. Some of the stuff you find in those books is like Pareto's law, which means everybody talks equality, but the only way to actually have equality is for everybody to be poor. Like there's no other way we'll all be equal. Like so we don't actually want to be equal. Like because I'm pretty sure we all don't want to be poor.
I mean, I
So
already am, so it's fine.
and then just some other deep philosophy like Walter Kaufman, he did a thing on critique of religion and philosophy, and all of them just kind of swing back to like Plato and Plotinus and like all the old Greeks and stuff. Um, but hey, little girl decided to pop in photobomb.
As long as it's someone you recognize, that's okay.
Yeah.
If
As long as
that
it's not a
pops up
ghost or
behind me,
something.
please tell me, and the cast is gonna end.
Yeah.
Real
I will
fast.
go screaming if someone pops behind me. So
Yeah, and then I've always got like Daniel Kahneman on the table. He's the one that did Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow, Noise. Like it's all about biases, heuristics, human fallacies. Yeah, those are always fun to go into. Yeah, and
I tried that one. I
yeah.
made it an hour in and was like, oh, I can't. I don't. I think the narrator was. I had a hard. I am really picky on narrators, so I don't
Yeah.
think it was a book problem. I think it was a narrator problem for me.
I won't read it for you next time, Jay. Gosh.
I know. Johnny sometimes will call me, and I'm like, well, if we're going to talk, you might as well start reading this book to me.
And I don't know words good, so that's already the first mistake.
Yeah, my wife does that to me all the time. I'll suggest something and she's like, I just couldn't get into it. And I'm like, are you doing the audiobook? She's like, yeah. I'm like, that's why. Like I read this one called Master and His Emissary, and it's from Ian McGilchrist, and it's all about the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere and how each actually what jobs they do, where language is. I mean, it was really, really interesting. But he's British. And so when I read it to myself, I just got to read it like I was reading Harry Potter. Like everything was in a British accent. I'm like, man, I should do this more often. You pay attention. It's kind of fun. And his audiobook is him. So you really can listen to it in a British accent. Yep. But yeah.
I usually like when the author narrates their own work.
It gives something to it. Like it really does. You don't have to sit and guess. Like, yeah. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I end up doing. Yeah. Got a whole stack of things that I'm going to start releasing essays one after the other, just trying to figure out exactly where to put them so that I can get the maximum amount of viewage and the maximum amount of comments and feedback, because it's all about feedback. Like if you're going to do anything, you want the feedback, and you have to be willing to accept that some people aren't going to give you very nice feedback. That may be the best feedback, but it's not going to be very nice feedback. Yeah. And then I started a novel the other day that I'm going to get out eventually. Because I looked at it and I'm like, God, everybody's read 1984. And like everybody's like, oh, we've gone so Orwellian and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's because you all read 1984. So that's what you're seeing is everything Orwellian right now. I'm like, so if we want something different, let's write something along the same lines, like the same genre of 1984 or Brave New World. And I'm like, let's flip it and show people actually pulling themselves out of this mire and creating something that is super cool. Like, instead of all going and descending into AI and Big Brother is watching, I'm like, nope, there is another method. We really can go the other way. Yeah.
One of my favorite jokes in the show Community, Britta is talking about 1984, and she goes, I think everyone should be forced to read it. Just pretty funny.
The irony behind that statement.
Yeah. That's true.
It all goes back to 1984. So Matt, what are you what's the first essay you want to release? Do you at least have that in mind, the concept in mind, or where you want to lead this to?
So probably the first one that I like the most is deeper dive into accuracy versus certainty. And we all have a normalcy bias. Like we love everything to be normal, to be certain. That's how we predict, right? So the more it doesn't seem strange to us, the better it is. And we've linked that with truth. Now, truth is great, but fact of the matter is we will take the really good story over truth every single time. Like you have the best story, most people will assume is truth. Accuracy, on the other hand, is what super forecasters do. They try to be accurate, but it allows you to go through and filter out all the information that you have coming in, pick out the most relevant spots and then adjust the premise. So you're never going for certainty in general. You're going for as accurate an idea as you can. So you're not ever locking into that absolute, which actually stops you from learning or exploring, or like once you're certain of something, you pretty much stop thinking about it. Like it no longer registers on your radar, which is why going after somebody's opinion when they hold this belief, they're not ever going to open up and listen because they've already said, this is my certainty. I don't have to think about this. Why are you bringing it up? So I like the idea just pointing out that it's like, no, there is a difference. I would much rather be accurate than certain on most everything. Yeah. So I figure that's a
So
good one to
bring it.
put out there.
I like it. So to bring it nerdy, you were team Captain America over Iron Man, right? Because you like to to forecast, or were you Iron Man on that one?
I was gonna go there too, Johnny. I can't
Of course.
believe. Wow.
We're one mind.
You know, I was always kind of like Spider-Man because he went there and he was just in awe of all these guys, and you could kind of tell he walked away going, and they're all being kind of stupid. Which
See, Matt,
I
that's why we're
looked
gonna
at
have you
both
on.
of them and I'm like, yeah, you guys need to stop and rethink your premises there because both your stories kind of suck. But then you have Peter Parker slinging around, yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. I never thought of it as a Spider-Man's perspective of, cool, thanks for the suit. You guys are lame. I'm going to go back to the Bronx.
He was just happy to be there, Like, I think he would have fought on the other side if Cap would have came to him and said, hey, come beat up Iron Man. He would have been like, all right.
It's pretty funny.
Kind of like Ant-Man. He's like, all right, Cap, do what you want, Cap.
Yeah.
Whoever would have just asked first. That's funny.
I mean, to be fair, I'd probably do the same thing.
No, Johnny, we're Team Cap.
I know we're Team Cap, but if Iron Man came up to me,
To ask you to fight
Yeah.
Captain America.
you're right. That's America's ass right there. I can't do it.
Exactly.
Well, I watched that and I'm like, okay, so your loyalty to your friend is going to make you give up your other friend. But they never got along anyway. So I don't know. You really can dig in and go philosophical quite often with the Marvel characters.
The suspense.
Sorry, Matt, we lost you there.
Which is what I found so interesting about
Restart that back up.
Say that again. You
Say that
said.
again.
Oh,
Sorry,
you
say
really
that again
can
about. You can
dive
dig
deep
in.
and make connections with anything Marvel or DC or comic books or mythology, man. It's just every one of them has a lesson. It's a story that's meant to teach us something, you know. And when you take all the blockbuster action sequences and stuff out of the movies, it's like you can relate them back to like old Homer stories or like some of these old myths and stuff that used to keep us all occupied over the campfires, like kind of fun. And you can tune off and just not even think about anything and just watch a bunch of guys in spandex beat each other up.
So where do you lie? Are you more Marvel? Are you more DC? Is there one that you lean?
I'm more Marvel. I've never really liked Superman and Batman. I'm like, the characters just, I'm like, why would you ever like make an invincible person? Like, I like the way they did Marvel more because they were human. And it's like you could see where their humanity was actually coming out, even though they were super. But like Superman, he's not even human. So to me, it was like there's something lost there. And but like I said, I've been watching all the DCs lately, and I kind of like them. They're fun.
And the movies
Yeah.
are rough. Me and Jay go back to the animated eras in the early 2000s and the late 90s. Those are the ones that really are DC, if you want to go
Yeah.
back to their heart. But
Go
the
back
movies
to
can
the
be
really
rough.
good ones. Yeah, I was digging through my stuff the other day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I opened this box, and I'm like, I have one, two, and three of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic books
Oh, wow. Yeah, because they
from
made a
back
huge
when they
comeback.
first came out. And I'm like, man, I feel old. Like, we thought it was so cool. Like, Ninja Turtles?
Oh,
Sweet.
yeah, display it.
So I gave them to my daughter. Yeah.
Ah, good. Pass it along.
Yeah. But I mean, that's how I learned Chinese characters. Was I went and found the local comic book called Teen Ha, and yeah, uh, I just would go through it and I'd be like, I want to read this. So that's when I had to learn all the characters and stuff. But yeah, made a lot of friends because I could always go up when the new issue came out and be like, "Wow, Tina," and like all the kids would talk to me.
That is, it's a little bit lost of today's, and I kind of miss this a little bit too, where you want to go to the comic book shop and get the new comics. You don't just order it on Amazon. There's just a little bit of going and trying to find a rare comic that it just missed out there. Another thing that just is lost.
Have
Yeah.
it, have it, have it, have it, have it,
Have it. Don't have it.
Well, and it's so I got my oldest a record player, of course, and our favorite thing to do is go looking at vinyl. And I'm like, do you realize how many hours we spent going through looking just at music, you know? And now that's gone. Like, unless you get vinyl, you don't go somewhere to actually look for stuff, and it's, yeah. I am, for me, technology is great, but it's always meant to be a tool, not a lifestyle. And so, like, when we overuse it and just say it's going to do everything, I'm like, okay, no, put the brakes on it. Like, slow down a bit. Like, it's a tool, you know? Like, yeah. But then again, I don't like to text. I love the days when I'm like, I could leave my house and know that nobody was going to get a hold of me for hours. Like, you could put the world on hold, you know? Yeah. And so what if you had to drag a corded phone around your house and you could only go like 10 feet from the wall if you had the really long cord? Yeah. But
I don't
I
know.
still
Napoleon
remember having
Dynamite, he goes like 30 feet. So
Oh, yeah. Jay has small cord symptom.
yeah, I'm just that age where it's like, I remember when VCRs came out. So, yeah, like my youth was, I grew up watching MTV, like when it was music videos. Yeah, like there's something to be said for it. Like, yeah,
It's
maybe.
true. I love binge watching stuff. Me and Jay were just talking about the new Avatar series, and they've dropped all of them, which is rare for Netflix. They usually try to do it spaced out, but they
Yeah,
dropped all of it. And I knocked out 4 on the weekend, and I just felt gross. I'm like, oh, that was cool. Like, I do miss the anticipation of Thursday night. Let's go watch Seinfeld. Like that, it gave you a reason to go around the TV. But at the
yeah,
same time, I love just being able to watch something and then go to the gym.
yeah. It's when you get sucked in and you're like, I've been here for hours, man. Like, really, is this worth it? Yeah,
Yes, but no.
but no, yeah. It's why I like to
Yeah, 'cause I
turn it on
remember
its head.
we were talking about how we both kind of rewatched all the Marvel in order around the same time, and that was just
Yeah,
a lot.
I did it. Yeah, but like I said, I just started doing all the DC movies. But it's funny because I'm doing them in reverse order.
Oh yeah, you gotta.
so you started with the Flash. Is
I
that what I'm
started with
hearing?
the Flash, and then I
Well, I
just
mean,
kind of
there's
gone backwards. And like I said, now I'm at the point where I got to go back and watch Man of Steel. Like,
I feel like that's not bad to start with the Flash. Then you get it. Then it's nowhere else to go but up, right?
But like I
Honestly, I
said,
still really like Man of Steel, so I'm
Man
in
of
the
Steel's like it.
minority. I'm in the minority.
yeah,
Man.
I'll let you know what I think of it.
It's I really like the Zack Snyder Justice League. It's 4 hours long, but I like the remake version.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, and I'm gonna watch it now because I
There's a
realize,
normal
okay,
non-black and white one.
if he explains why they're pushing those people in the truck around,
Oh,
I
they take it
think
away.
that will
It's
be
gone.
much better. Because I'm like, this doesn't fit into the storyline at all.
Yeah,
but
you could tell another director took over.
but I will say, the guy that plays Barry Allen on the TV series is so much better than the one in the movies.
Oh,
Like,
me and Jay have talked hours about Ezra Miller being just the worst.
This was pre-kidnapping, by the
Yeah,
way.
this was like 2000, like probably 2018. I was like, why is this guy on here? Let Barry Allen, let Grant, I'm forgetting his name, the CW, let him audition. Give him a chance.
Grant Gustin.
Yeah, there we go.
but I mean, they have all the series, and like none of them make it into the movies. Like,
Yeah, and they're great actors.
yeah,
Stephen Amell, he's a great. You could have put the Green Lantern on there, Green Arrow on there, been fine.
yeah.
And gotten a real Green Lantern. Don't get me and Jay started on the Green Lantern. Oh,
So you didn't like the Green Lantern movies?
I mean, Jay still watches it just to get ready to go to the gym. It's more like an anger watch, but other than that,
Oh, I still like my lantern. I'll still watch clips.
yeah,
Yeah.
just to get him motivated to lift heavy.
I'm what do you call it? What do you call it when you inflict pain
Masochist?
on yourself? Thank you. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I enjoy pain. Yeah.
I'm a huge masochist, so I get it. Even though I tell my clients, like, Matt, be positive reinforcements. By myself, I'm like, what are you doing? You got to do 5 more. Ugh, pure pain.
Yeah, but I'm always sitting there just going, huh? Okay. All right.
5 more? Sure.
Whatever, man.
Pull the sled. I'll push the sled. I don't care.
See, I'm still the type that I'm like, yeah, I'll just watch like Rocky 3 to get motivated to go to the gym. Or
You guys
Rocky
fight
4
a
when
German in
he's
that
like
one, right?
training in the barn. Yeah.
Old school. Yeah.
Yeah. I had
All
a
right, Matt.
picture of, yeah.
What?
Oh no, it's nothing. It's good. I'm just
I mean, I had a
thinking
Rocky
about
poster in my
Rocky.
room until I was like 40, so it's totally fine.
Of what? Of
Matt's all
Rocky?
there. Yeah, I had a Rocky poster for a long time.
I was just gonna say I had the Rocky 4 poster hanging in my room when I
Oh
was
yeah, I
growing
had the
up.
first one. I got it at a FYE, whatever they're called, the store, and it's like 1,000,000 to 1 shot. And I'm like, yeah, you got this, Rocky.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. What I wanna leave with what you want people to know, like a good final message for everyone, like guidance, something that you can bestow upon our listeners to get a taste of what you're out there on. Like, how do you see things? How do you want to change it? Just a little spiel here about some Matt knowledge.
So we're all really generational. Like, we really don't know how to interpret from one generation to the next. So, you have the Gen Xers, millennials. It's really kind of this idea that as the generations progress, there's a really, really cool book called Generations. And he goes through and he like sets them all up, and you have like rising adult and into like adulthood and middle age and then like older, right? And each generation moves into the next one and they take over different roles. So like rising adult and adulthood are like they're the physical. They're basically the backbone of society. They go out and they do all the hard work, the physical labor and everything. And then as you move into middle age, you're supposed to take on more of a managerial role. which is basically, yeah, you can't do as much physical anymore. You know how it works. You get to like tell everybody what to do. And then as you move into old age, that's when you have a supervisory role. And that mainly is just because when you're older, you gain all this wisdom because you have so much experience that you can look at things and say, all right, my job isn't to like control or direct or manage anything anymore. But the problem is now as we're moving up into these things, everybody has access to knowledge. Everybody's got all this information at their fingertips, and it's a bunch of information and knowledge without the wisdom behind it to say this is the where to apply it. So the message really comes down to getting the older generations to start giving advice under the guise of you don't have to follow this advice. It is mainly just advice. You do with it what you will. And then being able to back off and allow everybody in the younger generations to say, okay, I'm good enough that I can just take this in and use it, but it's not a direction. It's really kind of this idea that we really don't have an instruction manual. Like, we really don't. To act like we do is actually hurting us. You know, that's kind of the idea in a nutshell. And it will be much more clear as I get it into essay form and sent out where you can just read it and be like, oh, okay. Because I do the thing where I fast forward. Like in my head, it makes sense. And then when I hear it, I'm like, okay, that didn't make sense at all.
It's called podcasting with me and Jay.
But it really is true. It's like, I came on here because I'm like, I'm intrigued about podcasting. Like, I want to start one where it's a Gen X or millennial and Gen Z and see how much it takes to actually interpret across all three generations. Now, I was thinking about the boomers, but I'm like, no, let's just let them all go off into retirement. And the more they leave us alone, the better off we're going to be. But I mean, we're right at the stage where the Gen Xers are supposed to move up into the supervisory role. And you as millennials are supposed to start moving up into the managerial role, and we're not going to change anything. Like, we don't have time, but we can work with Gen Z to say, hey, we really can help you make it a better place. Like, we messed up. We really did. We're sorry. But let us help you fix it, not direct you how to fix it. Let us help you fix it. Like, it's yours to fix, so more of a step back and let it happen kind of thing. Yeah.
Nice. We're excited when it drops. The minute you have that essay up, we'll put it on our site here so people can find it. All our followers can get a read. And then when you get your stuff up and running, let us know and we'll promote the heck out of it.
Yeah, it'll actually be fun. Like, I run everything by the Mark Twain thing. So whenever Mark Twain wrote, he would sit down and he would read it to his wife and his children. And if they nodded, he would be like, oh, sweet. And he would double down on that. And if they looked confused, he would stop and never touch it again. So that's how Mark Twain knew whether or not he was reaching his audience. So I do the same with my 15-year-old. I'm like, if I can get her to nod, I'm like, all right, I'm going to double down on this. But if she looks at me kind of like you guys looked at me a couple times, I'm like, all right, I think I'm just going to bury that one for a while.
Don't go off us.
Right. I was going to say, don't read into when I get paused on
the. That's just the camera freezing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I'm glad you guys had me on here. I always love to just sit and chit chat. Yeah.
No, and that's all we wanted. I told that to Jay. I'm like, Jay, it's just a conversation that we're gonna enjoy, and that's what we miss because just me and Jay going off is fun. But we made this podcast because it's just a conversation with friends. So
We needed something uplifting anyway because
Yeah.
we can be hateful,
we're
vengeful,
so down, man. Like,
tyrants.
we're everyone's like, we don't like anything. You're pessimistic. So I'm like, let's bring someone in with a little bit of hope.
Well,
The Superman S for hope.
yes. Yeah. It's just kind of that funny thing where I'm like, I used to like look at everybody and go, man, how are you so stupid? And now I just look at them and I'm like, really, what happened that you're not using what you were given to actually think? Like, it's not stupidity, it's just lack of striving, maybe. I don't know. Or falling prey to a bunch of propaganda that's just kicking around that's everywhere. And, like you can get more truth out of a Marvel movie than you can from mainstream media. It's just kind of the point we're at. Yeah. And it
I mean,
doesn't
I live
have
and die by the shield, so that's all I care about.
Yeah, and most of it's going to be the same as like my life is full of contrary thinking. Like I'm unconventional, I'm counterintuitive, and I'm proud of it. Like, you know, I'm just like once you accept that, you're just kind of like, well, all right, you guys can do your own thing, but yeah, I'll just kind of do mine. Um,
I
Being
like
able
that.
to tell your daughter, I am definitely not a product of our educational system.
That's how we should end every podcast.
Words to live by.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks, guys. That was fun.
Matt, this was great. Thank you so much. We can't wait till you have everything up. We'll put it on. I'm excited to have Jay read to me the essay. That's usually how it works. And
Yeah.
then and translate it for me.
I'll
And
put it
then
out in audio form, and I'll use a British.
that's actually
accent.
probably the best way to do it. That way me
Then
and your
Johnny
wife
and I will
listen
listen
to it.
together.
Yeah,
All
together.
right, Johnny,
and then,
start playing it on 3, 2, 1.
and then we'll do it. And that's how we survive friendships miles and miles away.
Yeah. Well, great.
Awesome. Matt, can't thank you enough. Listeners, Knights, let us know if you have any questions for Matt. I know him really well. If you have great questions, I'll put them out to him and I'll make him answer it while I make him do squats. That's the best way to do a good job here.
Yeah. Like I said, I love feedback. I even take the mean feedback as long as it's good feedback. Like,
Me and Jay still miss
That's
our
the
original
hardest thing in the
troll.
world.
Yeah. We used to have a troll that was pretending to be a cat, and we miss him the most. He would just give us cat puns. I miss him the most.
yeah.
But that's true, though. We always say if we get trolls, we're doing something right.
And that's the thing. I'm like, I'm going to make something and put it out there. And my whole goal is to get it canceled. Then I know I've hit a nerve somewhere. And you should probably pay attention to that. If they try to cancel it or block it, it means you're saying something that needs to be heard. Yeah.
Love it.
I like
All
that.
right, Knights. Can't thank Matt enough to be coming on. Let us know what you think. If you have any comments, shout them out and we'll read it to them. Right, Jay?
Right. Knights, thank you so much. We'll catch you on the flippity flop.
Flippity flip.